want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell.
Welcome back to the Storm Cellar. I am here with a special guest. We were just talking about language and names, so English is her second language, or maybe third or fourth. I have an audiologist I've never said that before. My ears do not process sounds in like a small level. Like I hear big differences, but like little things are hard for me, which is one of the reasons I have trouble with names. This guest, we had booked ahead of time. I forgot to tell Ray, sorry about that. So Ray's not with us today, but Linnea is, and I know it's wrong, but if you could give me the right pronunciation, I promise sometime in the next 6 to 12 months, I will get it right for you. So welcome.
No worries. Hello, thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I'm Linnea, which is a nightmare name to pronounce in English, but you're doing fine. And yeah, maybe it's actually nice because obviously I go with my name Linnea also in Twitter, but I've never said it out loud there either. So this is a very good opportunity for that.
Yeah, I think on Twitter you just go by L, so I can always just say
Oh
L
yeah,
if that's better.
yeah. No, yeah, that's fine too. Actually, yeah.
That
No,
I can
because, yeah,
pronounce. I can pronounce L. L I can do.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, I had Linda, and then I felt like maybe this is like too much, so L is easy. Yeah, we can go with that.
So I think I stumbled across your Twitter account originally from videos. I believe that's correct. Am I right? So tell us. So I don't know if you want to start with videos or if you want to start with hockey or wherever you want to start. We want to hear your story. That's what we're about. So
yeah, well, I suppose the two are a little bit connected too, because I became like a proper hockey fan and a Canes fan at first, like almost exactly a year ago. Actually, because last year, national team Finland, the men's team also made it to the World Championship finals, but that time they got the silver or lost to Canada in the finals. And I had a very good time watching that tournament that year, and I was like, well, I want to watch some more hockey. Like, I wonder, like, if any of these guys are like still playing. And then I figured that the Finnish league has already like the playoffs have been played, like they're in their summer break. But then I was like, well, I think NHL might be still playing. So I had never really like looked into it even, or like haven't been too interested. But then I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna like figure out a team to root for. Like, apparently they're still playing. I had no idea how the playoffs work at all, and like I was just like, I want to watch some hockey. So I think it was like on Tumblr or like Twitter. I can't remember where. It doesn't matter anyway. But like, I think I literally just googled ice hockey. And Sebastian Aho kept coming up, and I was like, oh, this is the guy from like that World Junior Championships team a couple of years ago. They were like huge hit at the time and like huge
big
celebrities.
deal.
And like, yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I was very familiar with his name, even though like I wasn't like, I've always like watched the World Championships, but never really liked any like particular teams, or like certainly not the way I had been in the last year. But anyway, I was like, oh, like he seems kind of cool. Like I wonder what team does he play for these days? And then I discovered Carolina Hurricanes. And this was I think like 7th of June last year. So pretty much exactly a year ago. But the reason I mentioned this is because like in like 2 days I got super like I don't know what it was, but I was like very charmed by Sebastian and like then the whole team, and I watched like probably 20 hours of interviews in 2 days, and I was like, okay, like let's go. Wow. I'm very into this now. Yeah, maybe I hope that's a little bit of a like exaggeration, but like it was a lot. That is the point. But yeah, and then I like figured out how to watch the games. I bought this 30 euros a month, so like $35 a month streaming service. I realized only after I bought it, like the game starts at like at 8 p.m. there, so it's 3 a.m. here, but like whatever, I'm staying up and I'm watching it. I was super excited. Carolina lost, and I was like, well, that's fine then. And the next morning I woke up, I learned that was the game where they got knocked out of the playoffs by Tampa.
So it's total shocker. So like, oh, okay, they lost one, but yeah, no.
Yeah, so that was like a little bit of a disappointment maybe then, because I I was very into them already, but then I had the whole summer to kind of like get to know them more and fall even more in love with them, with the personalities there and all that. But yeah, I actually think I started like subtitling the videos before I even like made a Twitter for hockey, but I was just watching a lot of their interviews, and obviously there's like maybe like tenfold of the material of like Sebastian and Teuvo, for example, in Finnish compared to what exists in English, and like kind of being able to watch both of those, it's very clear how like it's very different level of personality you're able to show in your native tongue and in your like foreign language. And I was just like so charmed by these people, and I was like, it's like such a shame that like not all of their fans are able to, because for some reason, like I don't know why, because there would probably be a lot of interested viewers, but like for some reason many of these interviews are never subtitled. So then basically, because I was on summer vacation and I was very like, it was more like a hobby for me at first also, and I mean it still is, it's not a job still, but like yeah, I was just enjoying watching the interviews, and then I kind of like on a whim started also subtitling them, and then people seem to enjoy them, so I kept doing
I think they're great. Just to jump in, because you're right, so subtitling helps, so we don't do any YouTube stuff. If we ever start doing YouTube, like subtitling something is something I'll always want to do, in part for people who have, auditory issues or things.
Yeah.
We love, like, our very first guest ever was Finnish Sunshine, Lauren Wheeler, who is now in Finland via Texas, and still is a Hurricanes fan. For kind of it's you kind of, your story and hers remind me of each other, because she was trying to get better at Finnish. So she liked hockey. So she went on and Googled, and like, the Hurricanes have all these players, including like Sebastian Aho. I know Teuvo Teravainen is her favorite. And she just like dove in, like you said, I went through like 20 hours of interviews in a couple of days. And she was the same way. She's like, I just was all in on finding out what I can, which I think is awesome. And then your point about like players giving interviews in English versus their native language, I think is such a big difference, because I love Teuvo is like the best interview for me, because the answers he gives people like Sarah Sivian, and they're like, like tell us about your hat, and he's like, it fits my head, and you're like, is he all like, is he, I want to know, like, is that how he speaks in, like, is that just him in Finnish, because his English is really good, so is he just have like that kind of funny dry sense of humor? I think it's clearly now that he's done more of those, like that's just him being him. But I like the videos where you kind of get a little more personality, because a lot of times those YouTube translations are, you can either do them literal, right, word for word, or you can kind of put the meaning, like this is what this would kind of mean in language, which I think is better for a lot of folks, because so many words don't translate directly. But I like the videos. I enjoy watching those, because it's cool to see another side of these guys away from the ice and away from official, kind of videos and official narratives where they're having to, they're having to kind of put on their professional face. So I love it.
Fantastic. It's also always like nice to hear, because it takes a lot of time to do those, and even though like I enjoy it, it's always very like obviously I'm not making any money out of it or anything, but like it's very rewarding to kind of hear that it reaches people who are interested in them.
I think you have more followers than we do, so you're doing something right.
No, but like something, there were like a couple of like I feel like it's the most stupid, like shorts, like very random, the kind of videos where I'm like, I don't know, like if this is interesting to anybody, and those are the ones that like somehow people just like find and they like
absolutely. So, uh, so in terms of players, I'm assuming you're going to pick somebody like Aho. Favorite, give me your top maybe 3 or 4 favorite players in the league, Canes or not. Just like who gets you excited? Who makes you go, oh, I'm watching that game because he's playing?
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, I have to start with Sebastian because he's kind of like how I got here, and like I really can't even like say what it is about him, but I just like find him like very inspiring and very like yeah, maybe it's like the way he's very skilled, obviously, but still so humble and like so kind, and it's kind of like yeah. I mean, this is obvious to all Canes fans probably,
Yeah,
but
no,
like
totally.
yeah,
It's like having like the nice next door neighbor kid who also happens to be great at
yeah,
hockey. Yeah, no, yeah.
yeah, exactly, yeah. Um, yeah, and I mean, I gotta put Delva up there too because just like those two were like something about them just like really like uh yeah, I don't know, it's a little bit like I was going through a bit of a hard time like pre last summer too, and somehow maybe a little bit like on accident, but also like they're kind of part of it, but like maybe last summer then just like I found a new interest again and just like got super excited about something, and that kind of like carried over to other things too. So like I'm genuinely just like very very thankful for having found them and being able to be their fan now. So like
Yeah,
I
that's it. Especially, I was just gonna say, especially with the pandemic, because I think lockdowns probably in
yeah,
Europe were a lot more strict than they were here initially, at least. And
yeah,
I know that we've gone through a lot. That's part of the reason that we have this, that you and I are talking today is after a year and something. It's like I have something I want to talk to people to hockey, and where everybody's kind of at home, and I'm 600 miles from my team, and like
yeah.
let's do a podcast and let's just bring on like whoever wants to come on and talk hockey, and so yeah, I think it's great that it kind of transcends just that initial kind of hockey, and it's like, oh, what,
Yeah,
there's hockey. Well, now there's also, I can do videos, and then that kind of leads to Twitter, and you kind of get more meaningful, a community built around that, I think.
absolutely, yeah, and like that's for sure like the biggest thing that hockey has given to me, and it's like very difficult also I feel like to explain to people because I feel like especially here the initial response when I'm like, oh, I'm a hockey fan now, but nothing those words, but anyway, like is usually like really like kind of like, well, why? Even because it's usually here it's usually like middle-aged dudes who like hockey, and not exclusively, but they are kind of like maybe the loudest fans, and that's like kind of what you like connotate with it. But like it's so difficult to kind of explain in a few words everything else that comes with it. Like I've made such amazing friends like over this year, and like just having met many amazing people and just like having these discussions, and like I don't know how much it like translates from my videos, for example, where I'm like filming myself and talking, but I'm actually very shy, and I've always been very introverted, and I've never done anything like that before. But for some reason, just like this community happened to like just respond to it in a very positive way, and I've gotten like a lot more confidence too, and like it's actually been like a huge difference maker within the last year, and not
That's
just
awesome.
like yeah, it's amazing, and like I'm very thankful for it, and it kind of all started with discovering Sebastian and Teuvo and laughing at their stupid interviews. So like sometimes that's how it goes, I guess. But
Yeah.
I'm very thankful for them. So I have to put it's always I hate like I always feel like I mention them in the same sentence because like obviously they both also like deserve to have kind of their own spotlight. But maybe in this case it's okay to put them out
Yeah,
there
it's
like
good to be part of a team, right? It's a team
yeah, for
sport.
sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh my goodness. But then just from Canes, like it would be difficult to make top five. I have to mention Nino, and that's like, yeah, he. I don't know what it is. I've always had. I find German to be like a very aesthetically pleasing language, if you can say that. Like, I love listening to German music, and like obviously he has a very like the Swiss accent is almost like its own language apparently, but like I even though like I speak very little German, but like I've also watched some of his interviews just like to kind of see him, in the same way as I like to watch the Finnish guys' interviews. Um, I also find him very charming and like charismatic and obviously good at hockey. I mean, I hope that comes again. It's like obvious. I'm not even mentioning it, but like, and he had an amazing year. I feel like so
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you before I forget because it popped into my brain. So you met Brett Pesce's parents because his mom said like, oh, she has a. I assume were you speaking English with a Finnish accent and she recognized that and was like, oh, I need to go. Can you tell us, is that a story you're willing to share? Because that just sounds really cool. Because we've interacted with his dad a bunch on Twitter, and he's a totally awesome guy. I mean,
absolutely. No, it was so funny, and it's so funny also that like this was obviously an amazing and very special experience, but that was also the day where I got the puck from Sebastian, so I completely like kind of forgot about this. So
huge day. That's a twofer.
I know, right? So like, yeah, but it was very funny that it came up this week again. Yeah, so basically, I went to New York for a week at the end of April to catch some Canes games. And we were going to see the Islanders, and we were at the security line at the arena. And I was very excitedly, probably a little bit too loudly explaining some story or something to my friends when suddenly somebody taps me on the shoulder. And I'm a little bit like, what is happening? This is, like small talk doesn't really exist in Finnish, and it was a huge culture shock overall when this was my first time in the US, that like people you don't know just want to talk to you, and like it's usually very pleasant and it's nice, but it's just like something that like
it's overwhelming because I'm also an introvert, although people sometimes don't believe it, because I talk a lot, and part of me talking quickly is nerves. It's overwhelming when you get into that, because even for me, just to interject, living in Boston for a while, when I go back to North Carolina, even that is so different. So I can't even imagine coming from another country to America, because New Yorkers aren't very talkative and friendly in that way. So like a trip to Raleigh would be just that much more. And so I even notice it just traveling a few hundred miles, but please continue that, because I totally understand where you're coming from.
Oh, that's very nice to hear, because I was just like a little bit startled, and it wasn't anything but just because this is not something that I'm used to. Usually it's like that I'm in the way or something if somebody talks to me in a like public place or anything. So I feel like I was just like a little bit overwhelmed, yeah, is maybe the correct word, from the start. So I turn around and it's this couple, or I assume it's a couple, and then the lady goes like, excuse me, are you from Finland? And I'm like even more confused now, because I'm like, how do you know?
Like, wow, like right on the nose.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I mean, maybe in hockey it's a little bit more understandable, but it's still not like very common for people to like recognize it, even though like it is a strong accent. But anyway, so I'm a little bit taken aback. I'm like, yeah, like, how did you know? And she's like, no, but her husband goes like, oh, like we've heard a lot of Finnish accent in the recent years, like because we're the parents of Brett Pesce, and like, you know, we've gotten to hang out with Sebastian and Theo, and I'm like, holy shit. I probably like, I hope, yeah, I can't remember exactly like why, because in my brain I'm like, oh my god, how is this happening? Because it's almost like I met Brett himself, because like this was, you know, when you're watching usually at like 3 a.m. in your bedroom under covers, like these games, and like it's amazing that you get to be a part of like the community through Twitter, for example, but still like it feels very far away, and suddenly like it's right there. So it was a lot. But yeah, my like why I felt a little bit or a lot embarrassed afterwards was that like we were still at the security line, and we were just kind of a little bit like chatting back and forth, but then Brian is his name, right?
Yep.
Brian. Yep. Brian said something like, no. Again, like it's I'm such a great storyteller, as you can tell. But when I get excited,
Oh,
my English
I'm
gets
having a
all
good
mixed up.
time.
But like, fantastic. No, but yeah. So Brett's mom is like, oh, Sebastian is so charming, and like, we've gotten to like uh see him bunch in the last few years. And I'm like, internally I can go like, oh, that's so nice to hear. And like, I don't know why I felt like this was somehow, yeah, it was important to me to know that he's like privately also amazing person.
Yeah.
But then Brian went like, yeah, but like, can you tell me why is Theo so grumpy all the time? And in this like very overwhelmed, excited, like all the emotions were running high. I kind of like snapped at him. I was like, no, he's not. and then my time came to go through the security gate, and then I never saw them again. So that was kind of the end of the conversation, which I found lovely, and I was so excited. And I love Brett Pesce too. So like, yeah, that's also why I wanted to kind of share that story on Twitter now when I remembered the whole thing. Because I was like, I really hope that they're like not thinking like, wow, that was a very rude, annoying person.
Oh no, I'm sure not. We reached out to Brian one time, and I said, I know it's a long shot. Any chance we get you to come on the podcast? And of course, his answer is what it should be, which is, yeah, I think Brett would. Like that's, they,
Okay,
all the
yeah.
families are kind of told, yeah, it's not like the probably the best idea, right? You don't want to share too much. So,
Right.
but he super wonderful guy. To even take a few minutes to message us back, I thought was actually really cool of him, because I was just expecting it to be, just no reply, nothing, just because. I
No,
mean, that's the expectation, right?
for sure,
But yeah,
yeah.
they seem like wonderful people, and it's
Absolutely, yeah.
in the U.S. we have an expression like you shook the hand that shook the hand, and it's kind of that kind of a story, like you got to meet Brian and his wife, and they have a son Brett who plays with Sebastian, so that's practically the same thing as you meeting Sebastian, right?
I
And then
know,
you
right?
get the puck.
Yeah, it was so funny because I had been like for like the weeks coming up to the trip, I had been thinking like, oh, like should I make a sign for them when I'm there? But then it's a little bit like, I don't know, I just like wasn't sure, because I think, or like I learned there that it's maybe a cultural thing, but I was just basically just like, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to like, obviously like I'm not like directly asking, but I was still like, yeah, this is a little bit like too much. Like I don't want to, get to their space and like all this. But then our first game was the Devils game on Saturday, and there I had this like very tiny little note where it said in Finnish just like have a good game, or something like that. And then like my American friends who were there like, that's nothing, like you have to make a big sign and you're gonna get like you get your puck. And I was like, I couldn't possibly, like I don't want to like bother them, like they are busy and all this. And then the next morning uh one of the friends I was there with had like on the morning went and bought like a huge cardboard and some what's the word, like a big pencil that like
Like a Sharpie, or like a
yeah, Sharpie, yes,
yeah.
thank you. Sorry. A Sharpie, and then she was like, we're gonna make you a sign and you're gonna get a puck. And I was like, I didn't know, like I'm still a little, but I'm like, oh my god, this is so kind that like they would get this to me. So then on the train I write something. I had this plan, so so I wrote the first part in English, and it was like kind of the one on the bigger font where I said something like, I traveled from Finland to see my favorite team play, go Canes, or something like this. But basically I was also like, well, if I have a sign, I just want to like, tell them all have a good game and not just like be asking for something. But then on a smaller font in the like bottom, I wrote in Finnish something like, could I take a puck back to Helsinki as a souvenir, or something stupid like this. But anyway, just I was like, whatever, like we're here, I'll just like go for it.
Yeah.
And then we got to the class, and the warm-up started, and I was like, I have a video, I think I actually tweeted it too, from the first game when they come to the ice for warm-ups, like just like the sound I made when I was like 10-year-old fangirl moment. Like it was so fun. But yeah, I was pretty much in the same state in the second game too. And like I feel like maybe I don't know if it was because of the sign or anything, but they were a little bit like, you know, Charvi and Marty were like hugging right in front of us, and like I had a eye contact with Nino, which was like everything to me. And I was already so excited about this that I wasn't really like, you know, paying special attention to Sebastian or Theo, but just like watching all of them. Like, I can't believe they're real. I can't believe I get to be here. But then the friends I was with were like yeah, I you could see like Sebastian read your sign, and I was like, I don't think like it's okay. And then like at the end he skates over, like literally I get so excited just thinking about this. So like no, but he tried to first like throw it over, but there was the net. And then there was somebody taking pictures from like the little hole they have in the glass. Yep. And then like somebody points to that, and then like he gives it to my hand, and I just like I think I just screamed in Finnish like, thank you.
That's awesome. I love when that happens, because I think the older NHL guys, there was less of that, right? Like the glass, they see it as like a brick wall, like it's, you know, we're here and that's them. And the younger guys, I think, understand that in order to grow the game, and we talk about this a lot in the program, about small markets especially, you know, it's really about fan engagement. And I think it's gotten to be now with the younger guys, because they're social media savvy. They look around, they see somebody who's like, I'm here from Finland, you know, and they're like, that's cool. Like, that's how we grow the game. That's how we make, you know, more people fall in love with the sport. It's not just, you know, these, you know, old, you know, the word I would use is like stodgy, these old stoic, you know, hard, you know, fighting men anymore. It's, you know, the hockey's become a little more of that European or Olympic style, free flowing creativity. You know, guys like Aho, guys like Zegras, who are, you know, Svechnikov with, you know, the lacrosse goal. And so I think the guys really enjoy it. The last time I saw the Hurricanes here in Boston, Cam Ward was still in net. And one of the people, my wife and I were doing a live theater production. I was stage managing, she was directing. We had a family. All three of them were in. It's a community production, so all three of them were in the production. He knew I was a big Hurricanes fan. I knew he was a Bruins fan. We had a little back and forth. What I did not know is he had front row season tickets right behind the goal where the Hurricanes shoot twice, where the visitors shoot twice. And so after the production, he's like, he hands me an envelope. He said, I want you to have these. I won't take no for an answer. Have fun. And I'm like, I have no idea, right? So he gives me and my wife front row seats. We're maybe 10 feet, maybe from Cam Ward. We're right behind the goal. And I'm in, you know, it's me and Hurricanes jersey in just a sea of black and gold. And you know, I forgot if it was the first or second period, but there's a stoppage. He makes a huge save. Like, I jump up, you know, I'm getting booed, and I'm a pretty reasonable fan. I'll if somebody wants to go back and forth a little bit with them live, I will, but I never get nasty. I don't curse at games. And Cam, you know, he's skating around during a TV timeout, and he comes over and fist bumps me through the glass.
Oh my god!
You talking about like the 10-year-old girl, you know, like fangirl scream? Like, I did that, and I was like 41, right? So
perfect.
Loved it. I always loved the guy. I won't lie and say he was like one of my favorite players per se, but like I always respected his game. Like he won that Conn Smythe. My favorite photograph I ever took of the Canes when I was still doing sports photography it's from the 300 level. And it's looking down, and it's mostly empty ice, and then there's him, and then there's the crowd around him. And I like the dichotomy of he's surrounded by 18,000 people, but in the photograph you can also tell he's clearly also all by himself. Like, there's no other players on his end of the ice. And I got him to sign that for me. I waited after practice, and he was always kind of one of the last guys to leave. So I waited like 30 minutes after the previous player left. I'm like, I know Cam's in there. I'm just gonna wait. And I came out, and you know, he's, you know, and you could tell he was a little shocked somebody was still there. Everybody else had gone. It was like me and one other guy. And I said, would you mind signing this for me? You know, if you're in a busy, you know, if you're in a hurry, don't, you know, please just, but if, and he said, you know, and he was kind of joking, but kind of not. He's like, you're not going to sell this, are you? I said, this is a photograph I took of you I kind of explained the picture of why I took it. That I was a sports photographer. This is kind of why I did it. I said, if I'm not going to sell it, but if you want to personalize it, all the better. And so I'll have to share that picture on Twitter sometime. But he wrote like, to Brad, best wishes, blah blah blah, Cam Ward, and so that moment, like I can feel like your excitement. I get to see it. Everybody else is just going to get to hear it. But it's such a cool interaction, and I think that's one of the things that small market teams and the Hurricanes have traditionally always done really well. Is come in and paint the ice for season ticket holders, and the garage sale that's going to happen in a month or two, which I really would like to get down to because I really need some more sticks in the collection. But especially when they're away now and they're seeing their fans show up, because that didn't always happen. There was a long part of our history where they went to other teams' buildings, and there were a few Whalers jerseys maybe and a few Canes jerseys up in the upper levels. But now we're starting to see more Hurricanes fans, down on the glass with good seats, and we're starting to see a presence. We had a cool Twitter discussion the other day about, do you wear a jersey of a team that's not playing? And I said, I do, because I feel like every time somebody sees a Hurricanes jersey, I always say in the wild, that helps with the credibility of the fans and the fan base. Like, no, like I'm a Hurricanes fan all year round, even when they're not playing, even when they stunk. And so I like hearing stories like this. I think it's so cool. And we'll definitely give out all your info to get people to take a look at your videos, because I love watching those. We do want to play one game before we go today. I thought it'd be fun anyway. So we talked before the show. You can, however you want to define stay or go is what I'm going to call this. We're just going to go through the restricted and unrestricted free agents. I'll spit out a name. Would you rather go first or second?
I don't know.
I'll tell you, I'll go first, and that way that'll give you time to think about, because
perfect.
Because I'm kind of dropping this. So the game is stay or go. I'm going to name a player, pick whether they should stay or they should go, and then for me at least, I'll give a little more in-depth reasons why. You can feel to do that or not. And what we always do with these is the reasons or whatever you want it to be. If it's Trocheck's got a really cool playoff beard, like that's a good reason. That's fine. So whatever it's going to be. I'm starting with Nino Niederreiter. I would like to see him stay. The real problem here is contract. He's already making about $5.25 million. He's 29 going on 30. So length of the deal and money is the issue. I don't think length will be a problem. I think 3 or 4 years he would agree to, the Canes would agree to, then it becomes money. Can you afford to pay a third line winger? I'm assuming he's not going to take a pay cut, so I'm assuming at least $5.25 million, but somewhere between $5 and $6 million. I know we all want him re-signed. I feel like 98% of the Canes fan base is like, no, this guy should stay. But I will say that if you start getting up towards $6 million, that's a lot of money for a third line guy, even one who has been as valuable as Nino. But in the end, I would like to see him stay. So.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, for me, like I mentioned before we started, I feel like me being a new hockey fan still shows mostly in this regard of like the money and the like system and like the whole, maybe mostly the off-season stuff, actually, funnily enough, even though like I became a fan in the off-season, but like just the trades and the contract and all that is a little bit like.
And there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. That's like a full-time job, understanding all the nuances, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, but just like, I mean, I already told you that like I'm very biased in this because I love Nino and he's one of my favorite players in the whole league and in Hurricanes too. But I really hope he stays. And yeah, I mean, I don't know about the money stuff, but like just, and I mean, not really even knowing about the about this stuff, but like he seems like a very kind of steady personality and like somebody who is very good to have in the locker room too. Like even like he's not like
calm, collected, always does his job. Sure, I know
exactly. What you mean. So I feel like that's also something that is like, I know that's in the world of money that doesn't usually like matter so much, but like that's, I feel like also an important like aspect of him that I I feel like he's very like steady and calm and all that. Wait, I had some other point what I felt like was even like better. I completely blanked on it. Well, I mean, I wanted to say that was like the point. I don't know why I'm like even
That's
writing
okay.
this down, but
And like I said, like it's not always going to be about the money too. Like sometimes
yeah.
you need a guy for a certain reason.
Yeah, no, wait, actually, yeah, this was
no.
one, yeah, sorry, yeah, but like I feel like I might be remembering this wrong, and I know like the Stahl third line was like the perfect line for like the most of the year,
Oh
but I
yeah.
feel like Nino also played super well with. It was like a couple of games, like back in. I feel like it was during the COVID times when like the lines were all messed up anyway, but like I feel like he also played super well with Teuvo and Sebastian because he's like a bigger body and all that. And I feel like they play like amazing games and then that line just never came back. And I understand because like the stall line works so well, but just like I feel like Nino is even more like versatile also,
Yeah,
like he can play like
he's
different roles.
we play him as a third line checking guy, but you're right. He can play in the top six, not necessarily on the
Yeah.
first line usually, but he can certainly be
Yeah.
moved up to the second line and be productive. Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Benny Trocheck is the next guy. The money they could finagle the money. They could make the money work. The problem here is Vincent is also 28 or 29. He's probably looking for a real payday, 6-7 year term. And that's where things get sticky. As much as I would like to see Vincent come back, I don't think it's going to happen. So he's a go for me, mostly because somebody's going to pay him what he's worth. And the Canes, I think, would if they could, but they don't have enough cap space to pay him and Nino and pick up a real scoring presence. So unfortunately, I think Trocheck is gone. But I'd love to have him back, even though I don't think he will be. So
yeah, that's I agree, and like I like him a lot as well, and he played a very good season too. And I feel like he's like not, even though like obviously in the Canes fan, amongst Canes fans he is like recognized, but I think he's going a little bit under the radar still, but like he's a little bit better than like maybe the amount of talk around him like would I mean that's also never not the full story, but anyway, but yeah, maybe like, well, obviously again because I'm so biased, just like thinking that probably both of them won't be staying. If I had to like choose between the two, I would keep but like I don't really have like
and Trocheck is a pest in the way that I want. Like he gets under people's skin, but he's not dirty. Right. And I love that versus some other people we can name, like, the Lamborghini up in Boston there. So Ian Cole is a veteran D guy. He's replaceable. I mean, that's no offense to Ian. Thanks for the season. You took some dumb penalties. He's easily replaceable in a number of ways, including call-ups for me. So it was nice having you here, Cole. That's my take.
yeah, that's probably fair enough. Like, I actually, it's funny story when we were in the Devils game in when I was in the US. I think it was first Sveshnikov took a penalty and then TDA took a penalty, and I jokingly said to Carrie like, "Oh, now it's just Cole," and I got collected all three, and like within 20 seconds, Cole went to the box, and I was like, "There you go, like this is the like standard Canes game this season."
That's our trifecta, right?
Yeah, but yeah, I feel like he played some super amazing games and then like super confusingly like bad games.
A little hot or
like,
cold.
Like,
for almost $3 million, you can do that elsewhere. Max Domi to me was always a rental. I didn't see Max staying here unless he just came in what we call a barn burner, where he's just lighting up points and all. And he had obviously one of the biggest Game 7 performances that Hurricanes fans have known, and that's knowing Mr. Game 7 is on the team, right? But I didn't see anything in Max Domi that's not same thing. It's just, some of these guys are just flat out replaceable, and he's one of them. You can get no scoring from other places just as cheap.
Oh my goodness!
You can hire me. I'll do it for the league minimum, guys. If you guys want 2 goals in a year and for league minimum, I'm your guy. I block shots too.
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult for me to say pretty much anything about him. I kind of like, to be honest, like this probably sounds like very rude, but like I kind of forget about him very easily because I kind of like when he came. Yeah, and he came in like, in a very like when he came like towards the end of the season, I for some reason I really didn't have time to kind of look into him any more than like the old tweets that had resurfaced, kind of like the outside hockey stuff, and that was like I wasn't very interested to like get to know him either after that. So like I really have nothing to say about him.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to say a lot because there just wasn't a lot to work with, right? He came in, he did his job. I didn't think he did a bad job, but he didn't. Other than Game 7, he was just kind of on the ice. Brendan Smith is one that I'm kind of 2 minds. The biggest thing with Brendan is he's just slow. He's as slow as skates as I am. And that's saying a lot because I don't skate really anymore because I got bad knees. But with Selgren, Keane, and Chatfield being 3 defensemen that the Hurricanes have under contract in the AHL, I don't see you keeping Smith around for that veteran leadership that he does provide because, it's the Hurricanes are in a position where they're going to need every dollar to spend to the cap and bring in a real scorer to maybe help put them over the top. And so every $100,000 you can save now is going to help with that. And so knowing that, I think Brendan Smith is out the door. I would like to see Chatfield be the first call up. I know others have said Keane. Makes no difference to me, but Brendan Smith, I thought, did a much better body of work than he probably gets credit for because he just kind of did his job most of the year. He hit people when he needed to hit people for the most part, but with the type of hockey the Hurricanes want to play up and down the ice, he just is too slow to fit into the system for me.
Yeah. I mean, he's also one of those players who I like. Mostly like my opinion about him is based on like what I see other people talk about him because like, he seems like I don't have an issue with him, but like, I mean, you laid out some great points, and like I feel like maybe I don't maybe focus on defense as much, except as when it's failing, when it's easier to see. So like it's a little bit unfair for me, maybe also to kind of like try to analyze now, like looking back. But I mean, having Chatfield right there makes like it's very it's very easy just to kind of like one team up there and then figure it out from there, like who will fit into that hole.
And then the last UFA, so the last unrestricted free agent is Derek Stepan. Another veteran guy. Between him, I think Lawrence is a restricted free agent. I believe that's correct. I'd rather see him back. I don't know if he would want to be back because he was benched so much. Kind of the same thing with Derek. I think if nothing else, I don't know that he would want to be back, even if the Canes wanted him. And I'm kind of on the fence because I think his veteran leadership, he has a lot to teach. But I think he could go to other places and play more games than not. And he's not going to get that here. And so I think it's a mutually beneficial for he and the Canes to probably both part ways. Although I can't fault this play. I preferred him in the lineup than out. I felt better with us chance of winning with him in than out. But I think I think what's best for him would be to find a consistent job somewhere else.
Yeah, that's fair. I think, yeah, I don't know if I have anything to add, but yeah, I feel like now I'm like randomly getting like a memory from like early in the season. I feel like kind of the Stepan line was the one kind of carrying like for a couple of games, and everybody was like a little bit worried like it's good that we have a good fourth line, but should it be our best?
Yeah.
But like so he played very he played very solid and kind of like like showed up when he was playing. But like you said, maybe he will want to play a bit more. So interesting to see.
And he's getting to be he's getting a little older too. So
right.
So that's all the unrestricted free agents, which I think we'll stop there for today. Because I mean, those guys are, the restricted free agents generally, you're either at least going to sign them or get compensation if somebody else signs them, and then it's just a matter of what do you get back. But those free agents, if they just walk, then you get nothing in return. So whether or not you sign them or not sign them is a little bit more important in a lot of ways. The good news for the Canes is they have Svechnikov and KK on 8-year deals. So two parts of that core, 3 or 4 people in my mind are signed long term. We have both goalies back next year. We have Piotr as a third goalie to come up. Alex Lyons might be the one AHL player that I would bring up, just because I don't think he'll be back because we have so many goaltenders in the minors right now. I see him getting a starting gig somewhere else next year. So best of luck to him. This was fun. No Ray. I'm always sad. I know Ray wasn't feeling good earlier the week. I hope he's feeling better. I apologize to him again for the timing issues. That was all me, baby. My show, my mistakes. So thank you so much for joining me, especially from across the pond. So luckily it's not too early or too late for you, because we're just kind of getting warmed up here, and poor Ray's probably still in bed if he's smart.
Hopefully he will feel better and he's okay.
So we normally end this show traditionally, and Ray's not here to do it, so I'm gonna have to make you do it with me. But we normally end the show with a Go Canes. So do you mind?
Let's go.
All right. So go Canes.
Go Canes. Fantastic.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Ray and I greatly appreciate your support in helping us produce an informative and fun podcast. As always, we'd like to say that we believe hockey is for everyone. Whether you're a Caniac or a bunch of jerks, doesn't matter, as we're just a couple of jerks anyway. We would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. We will do our best to answer anything hockey related. You can reach us by email at stormcellar97@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at stormcellar97, and on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97.